So, just one point I'd like to make. When we are talking about the minority institutions, there is something repeatedly mentioned in all these judgments, which is that the minority character of the institution should not be diluted. Now, if an institution is taking 80% non-minority students, where does the minority character stay?
Exactly my point.
Rest your case.
One more thing, you could have shown up. What were the advocacy groups or the NGOs who actually were working while RTE and 93rd Amendment was actually brought up? Who were the groups who actually worked for, they created the environment? And one more thing I just wanted to bring up was
Industry out there.
judiciary is also going into a lot of conferences which are again organized by these NGOs. So their brain also, work according to these NGOs.
So we don't have any problem if they give all these kinds of freedoms to minority institutions. Just you give it to us also, right? That's our only concern. We are not asking for anything special here. We are just saying that give the same rights that you are giving to non-minority institutions. Give the same rights. We don't want anything special.
There is a discourse that's happening right now in the country. It's the need to define a minority. And as we are all aware, many religious groups which are claiming minority status are not really minorities in terms of numbers, even if you look in statewide populations. Right? So if that definition then does not hold, like from 1947 to now, do you think by redefining the minority, there can be some impact on these kind of discriminatory laws?
Well, right now the courts have said that in 1957 Kerala education case, they said that in Kerala education case, they said that whoever is less than 50% is a minority. Okay, yeah, same. But now they said this in 1957. This view prevailed for I think 40-50 years, and then in TMA5 Foundation case, they said you will decide, who will decide how will we calculate 50% according to a district population, according to a state population, or according to a national population. So in 1957 case, they said decide on the basis of law. If it's a state law, the state population will decide who is a minority. If it's a national law, the national population will decide. In TMA5 Foundation case of 2002, they said irrespective of the law, whether it is a state law or a national law, the only state population will decide, because they said their reason was linguistic minority can only be decided on the basis of state population. So they said religious minority has to be decided on the basis of state population. Now you would think that Hindus will get these rights in areas, in states where they are in minority, which is not the case.
But I mean, I think the Hindu population in Kerala is about a little, just a little.
No, it's 52%, so above 50 is good.
Not for long.
Yeah, not for long. So everybody will be minority in Kerala sometime.
Yeah, but will they reverse it when it becomes minority? If you use the minority.
There is no such case as of before the court, so when it happens, they will probably decide.
There was one observation by I think Supreme Court about Punjab. Like they said, should Sikhs be considered minority? But
Yeah.
they are so.
That was before TMA5 Foundation case. You are referring to the Arya Samaj versus state of Punjab. Yeah, DAV versus state of Punjab. In that they said that DAV was saying that we are a Hindu minority in Punjab, so we should be exempt from the regulations, right? We should enjoy these protections. And then the High Court said, Punjab and Haryana High Court, this Supreme Court actually, they said that yeah, you are right, because it is a state law, so state population will count, and they got the minority right.
There is one thing, if I may name. Could women be added to this whole piece and subvert the?
Yeah, you can wreck it from inside by adding all kinds of groups, OBCs, women, children, whatever. You can wreck it from inside. That you can do, but it will be like a mess. So, do you want that? Or that's one. So that's kind of jugaad that we employ everywhere. So we can do that.
So one question I wanted to ask, which you haven't addressed is
Yeah.
the Right to Education Act, the 25% quota over there. So a part of it is to economically weaker section, and the other part is to disadvantaged section.
Yeah, there is a lottery system for that. So if you there are 20, let's say 25, there are 100 students in a class. So 25%, 25 seats are available, are up for grabs, right? For poor and disadvantaged kids. Now they have not defined how many poor kids, how many disadvantaged, and disadvantaged, who are these disadvantaged, that the states will decide. And then they take lottery of, let's say 200 people came. They said, okay, we want admission in this 25% quota. They said we want admission, and there is a lottery system. Now you choose 25 people out of 200, right? What happened to 175 poor students? They don't have right to education.
What?
Exactly.
Also, what is the constitutional validity of placing minorities as well as SCs and STs and OBCs and other weaker sections defined under the constitution and minorities on the same pedestal? The Right to Education Act does that. So as the constitutional validity.
Right to education is only following the precedent set by courts, which have interpreted Article 30 as such that of their choice they have right to establish and administer these institutions as they like.
Not in that sense. In terms of the 25% reservation, it is disadvantaged sections of society. So the disadvantaged sections of society has not been defined.
Yeah.
According to the
So has not been minorities.
No, according to the constitution, it has not been defined. So the act defines it as something of.
Now
mixture
every
of-
state has different
Yeah.
disadvantaged
So
groups.
minorities and SCs and STs are the same level according to same level, and they will
No,
be
no.
part of this disadvantage.
An SC cannot be exempt from
I'm not
running.
arguing the exemption from running it. Exemption is a quota.
Yeah.
Quota.
Yeah, SC and STs are included in disadvantaged groups, not in poor. Huh? EWS, yeah.
I just want to give a background to this right to education. To say that how it emerged from the right to child. So as a right to child, a right we like following the international convention on this, we arrived at like accessibility, availability, acceptability, and accommodability. And coming to that, when we talk about the clause like age appropriate admission or no detention policy or no corporal punishment, basically it has been, RTE has been disastrous in terms of its implementation, but in terms of its intent and its policy, I think we need to understand that. So when it's no detention policy and we are talking about lot of things in terms of the children's achievement and in terms of the problem that teachers have or the schools have, let us also understand no detention policy or RTE does not say about no teaching policy. It does not say about no assessment policy. But when it came to no detention, we started interpreting means you don't fail the child, therefore you don't teach the child, and therefore you don't assess the child. It doesn't say, it is saying that you don't expel the child. Doesn't mean you don't assess the child. It is about a change in the mindset. It is saying that assessment has to be linked with improvement and not about motivation or demotivation or having a fear factor saying that I am failing you and therefore you have to study. So it is about that intent that we need to understand when it comes to no detention policy, because teachers used failing or passing as a weapon to really say that children have to clear the exam. This is one take on this. Yes, you certainly.
Can I make one point about intention?
Sure, sure.
If all intentions were transformed into reality, we would have been best country in the world. At the time of Jawaharlal Nehru alone,
so how do you make it? Do you want to say that you have a fear factor, a weapon in hand to say that you teaching has to happen, or you say that you really make those support systems available so that children learn and children improve? So assessment has to be there.
I think we have proved beyond doubt that this is not an enabling system. This is a destroying all the schools. I think this is proved beyond doubt.
When I had started, the Right to Education Act has been interpreted as the child to go to the right of the child to go to the next class irrespective of learning. That is what I said right in the beginning. This is how it has been interpreted. Have you read SSA document, Sarva Siksha Abhiyan document?
Of course.
Yes, amazing. Now it's a beautiful document. If only we would have implemented that without this sectarian aspect of RTE, all the problems would have been solved. It beautifully defines everything. It writes all the disabilities are mentioned as annexures. There are checklists for everything possible. Where is the implementation? Let me finish, madam. Now when we talk of no detention policy, 2 years the child did not do well in school, that was not the fear factor. That was a wake-up call for the parents. If my child fails in one standard, I have to make sure that the child passes the next year. And hence, I am going to look back, think where my child is missing on the learning. I would take him to multiple people, I will get assessments done, I will provide the extra support needed so that my child learns. Your exams are a benchmark to tell you, has your child learned to that grade level?
Ma'am,
If
RTE
this
came
is not
only in
happening-
2009. Our parents didn't wake up till 2009. So you
It's
want to
not
say after
like that. It's
2009
not
they'll
like
wake
that.
up?
It's not like that. They slept after 2009. They were
Sorry,
all there.
sorry, it's
wake up.
about shift in
Yes.
mindset. It's about shift in
Exactly,
mindset.
that's what I'm
It's about
saying. It
saying
made
that
people think it is right to promotion. It is not right to learning. So right to education took away the right to learning from our children. It put every single child under disadvantage. Believe me when you are
how
working with children.
expulsion will become a right to learning.
We
It
are
has
not
to be
talking of
assessment
expulsion.
framework.
I'm not talking of expulsion. I've also mentioned in my recommendation the child has to be only detained, stays in the school. He could be 5 years in the standard, but he will go to 6th standard after
what-
he learns.
So what
Not
is it
before
that
he
you...
doesn't learn.
I'm sorry, I just have to interject here. The real experience which happened last year in one of the MCT schools in Delhi, in South Delhi. Yeah? The principal told me that क्या करे बच्चे पढ़ना ही नहीं चाहते. These are very good principals that I work with. Apparently, a second standard kid was heard telling another his classmates, I don't want to study. Like basically, मैं क्यों पढूं? मैं तो पास ही हो जाऊंगा. Second standard child knows about this. कि मैं क्यों पढूं? मैं तो पास ही हो जाऊंगा. So there you are.
मैम ऐसा एक नहीं बहुत cases है. I will show you 10 cases, but I still believe that it has to be a assessment policy. It has to be helping the learning and not about failing.
Your teachers don't even know learning disability from slow learner, from
Ma'am, the
So
teachers
वो
themselves.
support system create करना है.
don't create that. You have no business to experiment with children.
So you want to say we remove the system, don't create the system?
I need the mic here. I need the mic.
Ma'am, the principals and teachers are themselves
small
advocating for
little
this for
point.
years. To take out
Let
the
me use a cliché.
Experimental guinea pigs, please understand that.
Look, there's a cliché about intentions. They say the path to hell is paved with good intentions. Nothing more to say.
That's what I'm going to say. It is not about a flyover I can make after 10 years. It is a dynamic system. Children are growing every single day. You have not created the infrastructure and you have put the RTE in place. Without the infrastructure,
Now-
without making the teachers aware of assessment, understand.
So do you want to say if infrastructure is in place, there's no problem with RT?
You have
Do you want to say that?
No.
No, if infrastructure is in place, we can still go with it?
Learning gaps, somebody will take care of the learning gaps.
So this is to say we need to put the infrastructure in place. Doesn't mean that the...
Doesn't mean you put them there. Children are not guinea pigs. 7 years down, RTE, you should see what the children are learning. Nothing.
You should also see the magnanimity of the country and the children.
Lives are destroyed.
Okay.
You will have more suicides,
So,
more depression in the
just a
country.
minute.
Believe me.
Now, 2 points. One, when we are talking about 300 children we support for education. Okay, these are destitute children with no parents. Only the state-run homes they go to. 8th standard, they cannot identify alphabets. Who has promoted them? And how can anybody say that the system is good? One. Second, and they cannot identify alphabets in any language. Mind you, not just English, in any language. Who is responsible for the death of these people's future? Who is responsible?
What will happen after 8?
RTE, what will happen after 8 standard? You promote idiots. You are only creating mall employees. You are not creating engineers, doctors in future.
Okay, I'll just say one thing. The fact that we are discussing, that child cannot, identify the alphabets or subtraction or division or whatever we are discussing right now is all courtesy to RTE. We are discussing it because, RTE came into force. The fact that we are, at least thinking about education in those terms. Pre-RTE, I don't think we even thought about that. talking about the learning levels or no, sir.
No.
I am a part. Wait a minute.
No.
I am a part of government education system. I've been, in this system pre RTE and post RTE, and the kind of excuse that we all give is, बच्चा तो बिना पढ़े जो हम बोल रहे हैं कि बड़ा बिना पढ़े वो 8वीं में पहुंच गया है. Pre RTE, I had students in my class 12 who could not, tell out B from D or could not write their names. This was not RTE. But then we had students like that. We never talked about those students, and we never even talked about the learning levels. The fact that we are talking about learning levels and the fact that we have students. Exactly. एक और चीज बोलना चाहूंगी. RTE के बाद at least in the government sector we have things coming inside the schools. The first thing would be the number of teachers. The government or the state or whatever, the administration would not bother about the number of teachers that were in school. अभी क्या है कि लॉ के एनफोर्समेंट की वजह से उनको किसी भी तरीके से टीचर्स एटलीस्ट स्कूल में लाने पड़ रहे हैं. They have to make toilets separately, or whether they are functional or not, that's a different thing. But they are at least starting with things. That's all courtesy.
I want to talk about something.
Okay.
I want to talk about something here. When you say the children want learning, we're missing out to 8 to 10% of school-going children. Ma'am, can I answer this one question? What she was
Maybe.
talking about? Thank you. Now, what has happened is 8 to 10% of children have learning disability. Were we picking them up earlier? We weren't. There's a movement. I understand. Everything is a movement. Your environmental causes of no detention is only one part why your child is not learning. Your child could not be learning for n number of reasons. Post-scholastic backwardness, I can talk about for 2 hours about it. The causes, what happens, what doesn't happen. So I can understand even pre-RTE children weren't learning. Even then the quality of learning or standard of what ASA data I produced was barely 50% of the children could do things they were expected to do, which were 2 grades lower. So I'm not debating that, but that has brought the situation from bad to worse. That is what I'm debating.
Sorry,
There is data. Please go to ASA reports and see them. There is enough data. There is enough data. And go to the field, talk to children, talk to parents, and you'll have it all in place.
System in place for the teachers.
Sorry,
It's only for that.
ma'am.
Exactly.
I think most of us very patiently listen to you. Let's others also please raise other questions. So let me, can I move or make my question? And my question is to speakers and not to the audience. One of the thing that as much I have also understood research about it, and in terms of conclusion, and there I would take your, like to take your comment on it. The way I have understood is Right to Education Act was a political fraud to nation, and one of the reasons why I say it is this is not just a centralized at India level designed, it was internationally, and since it was UN declaration also which is ratified,
Yes.
and therefore you adopted, and then you realize you have promised something that you actually cannot deliver, which is 100% enrollment and literacy to all
Right.
of you, and
UAE.
where you have a teachers union which is very strong, so you can't make them accountable, and that is where the no detention policy, I really like it. It's a beautiful intention and concept, but this is what it has been used to simply say up to 8 we have passed, enrolled, taught everyone and issued certificate, our job is done. And therefore I say it is a kind of political fraud to the nation, and I would like to have comments from both the speakers, because so far you have not touched the teachers unions aspect to RTE drafting.
I've actually, honestly speaking, I have not looked at that aspect. The level of absenteeism, the teachers who have not been up to the par. In fact, I have been part of the continuous teachers training programs of CBSE, Kendriya Vidyalaya. I have been a part of that for last 5-6 years, and I go and whenever they have these teachers training program, they always invite me to talk about autism, talk about learning disabilities to all the cohort, to the entire cohort for the West Zone. I mean, I give probably 20 lectures annually to this ZIET West Zone. What I've understood that in the Kendriya Vidyalaya system, the NCRT and the government system, there are enough training programs which are happening. But when it comes to the private sector, the CME, what we call, the continuous education process is not happening much with the teachers. That is the only disparity which I am in the capacity to comment. The union bit, honestly speaking, I'm not into that domain.
Ma'am?
Anybody else wants to give
Can
a
I-
comment is most welcome to do that.
I just, my understanding, just wanted to say, like, what I understand is they have increased the bureaucratic intervention in all the schools.
Right.
So it's like कि या तो आप घी की रोटी खाओ, हाँ, या तो मत खाओ और मर जाओ. मतलब they have forced schools so badly, like you have to have so much of things, either provide everything or close down.
Close
so
down.
supply side issue है वो तो already मतलब sort out नहीं हो रहा है, ऊपर से स्कूल बंद हो रहे तो जो already study कर रहे हैं वो भी कहीं के नहीं रह जा रहे. So we are creating more issues rather than solving issues. Plus sectarian है तो if I can, I'll need 2 minutes to share my personal experience of my village, wherein they get land like a Christian, they get land from government to build the school. They get funds from CSR, including government funds like LIC. This is from my village. Then to pay school fees, they again get government funds. But the teachers can be anything, anyway. So if they are TT qualified. So to get nuns and others, they ask for exemption there. So they can get nuns or they can ask people to convert and become teachers. So what I'm saying is they have completely developed a full system wherein they are getting complete taxpayer money and they are asking people to convert. This is my village experience. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Ma'am?
Yeah. Yes.
When we talked about, having different kind of norms in different places in India, I would just want to make one point. If I'm born in, say, Sitapur, as you mentioned, or any other part of India, and if I'm born in Delhi or say Mumbai, so does that give me, better opportunities? Am I entitled to better opportunities
I'll
or
answer
different
that.
opportunities?
I will tell you the
Because,
context in which I said that.
I'll just, try and share an example with it. See, if we all have, city norms and city allowances in different cities, depending upon the kind of things that we spend upon, our spendings on the cities. So that is a different thing. Humans are not spending commodities. So if I'm born in Sitapur, I'm the same. If I'm born in Delhi, I'm the same. If I'm born in Lucknow, I'm the same. If I'm born in Chennai, maybe I'm the same. And I have a total right to, every kind of opportunity that I can get. That's a different thing. I don't get that much of water maybe in Jaipur. I get more water in Delhi. But then I have a right to demand for more water. And if there's a law made for me, which, tells me that I can demand more water, I don't think there should be anything wrong with that.
The law is wrong.
See,
If
you
you
have-
give you more water, the law is wrong in asking someone private to provide you water when the government cannot give that. That is where it is
That's
wrong
what-
asking private folks to give water to you free, which and maybe for some people it is free. And
I'm
these are
just-
businesses, right? Now today education is a business. We don't have to be sanctimonious about it. It is a business. But the moment you start forcing people to do X, Y, Z, just because you can't do, and the government, can't do that, that's getting into slightly problematic territory.
From what I believe is
All
this.
rights are good if the government is going to.
It's going to provide it
Then
for
again, you again come back to the execution part of it. If you don't execute it well, you can't just blame the act for it. It is the executing body which is to be blamed, or the members or the party to the execution, which is to be blamed. If you want to blame anything,
And what is the
all of us have at the end of it understood that it's a very, I don't want to use too many adjectives, but it is a legislation which has been, sectarian in nature, making sure that the people at large are suffering. It has not served any great purpose except for setting norms. I'm talking of quality controls here again. So we've set norms which everybody is supposed to follow. You tell me something. Do you pay the same water tax as in Mumbai, as in Sitapur? Let's put it that way. See, let me finish, madam. Let me finish, madam. When we are talking about, in fact, the land is much cheaper. You could have a better infrastructure in a smaller town, but you may not have that quality of teacher over there. Right? When you have these kind of schools, you could have a lot of land, so you could make beautiful playgrounds and all, which possibly is not possible, is not feasible in a city like Delhi or big metros. So what I am trying to say that the norms have to be, again, you can't just have it and say that you do it all in 3 years. Everything had to be in a very phase-wise manner. You can't make a legislation. So who is suffering at the end of it? You're talking of enrolling the children. So many children are moving out of school. What is the level of your government education system? Nobody, not even your driver wants to put your child in a government school. Your driver also wants to put your child in the budget schools, the small private budget schools. What I was talking about, the 10 children we put in from the destitute home, there is a government school across the road where no teachers ever come. The destitute home where we are teaching, there is a provision for 6 teachers' seats. None of them are occupied for years together. Right? So when we don't have systems in place, you can't experiment on children. You have the systems in place and then apply. You're talking of assessment. Who will do assessment? Teachers don't even know. If I can challenge, I will ask 10 random teachers and they'll give all different definitions of what is a slow learner and versus what is an MR versus what is a learning disability. When teachers don't know, how do you expect the parents to pick up all these things? We're talking of awareness. Awareness is maximum in Mumbai or in Delhi or in Chennai or in Bangalore. You move from there, go to smaller towns. Teachers cannot do anything about it.
And
so a lot of things has to be done.
Infrastructure and the appointments being made after RTR schools had absolutely nothing. And the way the government schools are coming up, it's only after RT that budgets started flowing and states are made accountable to this. And that is why today UP and Bihar, for 10 schools, they had 2 teachers who were running around. And today there are appointments being made at least. And the states, every year the educational budget to the state is only released if the state is able to show how much they have performed and fulfilled the targets set by RTE. And that is something we are changing. I am not saying that we have changed and we are really bad on whatever we are, but still we are improving from what we were. And that is something is a upward journey. I think we need to understand that. Because obviously
negative improvement.
Data
And we will be fighting for quality. Learning output controls at all in RTE. It only talks about you have this. It's not talking of any learning outcomes at all. It's not mentioned in the act. Show me.
Teachers have started complaining about all these formalities that they have.
And let's face it, we cannot solve this country's problems by passing laws. We have to understand this. Nobody can solve problems by passing laws. If that was the case, we would have solved these all problems way back.
So you want to promote a lawless society? You don't want to have any laws?
Don't put words in my mouth, please.
So आप ये क्यों बोल रहे हो? कोई policy होगी,
नहीं,
उसके साथ
policy-
fine होगी, research होगा, फिर policy वापस बनेगी. तो आपने पहले गलत भी बनाया हो सकता है.
Just one question.
May I please give somebody else a chance to
So
speak?
you just
Sorry, yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
just wanted to ask you one question on the point that you made, that you're saying that now the number of teachers are increasing, right? From, you said 2 teachers were running between 2 schools, 10 schools. Now you have teachers in each of those 10 schools. Right, that's what you're saying. My question is there quality check that those teachers are capable of imparting a quality education to those children?
There was not any till date. There is at least something which is happening. Now, once you put teachers, you will put a quality check. But if there were no teachers, how do you put a check at all?
Let me. One more
Somebody
point.
else a chance to speak.
One more.
Madam, please ask the question here. Madam, please. That's enough.
May I am not from the education sector, so I have come here out of curiosity and I wanted to know something more about it. I'm a bit confused, frankly speaking. I understand now after going through this, after this all this discussion, that RT is possibly bad. But I'm still confused. Should it be done away with completely? Or what are the 3 things or 5 things that should be done? What are the recommendations that we can take away from this? That you can, do you say that we should do away with RT? Are you saying that the private schools should be done away or private schools should be encouraged? Or are we saying that the government schools, more training facilities must be created immediately for the government schools, for the teachers, or something else, that I mean, are we saying that because RTE cannot be implemented, I mean, what should be done with the government schools or the private schools? Yeah. Okay, that's it.
What we have to do is that we have to repeal this law at like completely. Clause by clause, we have to repeal this. Then we need, ma'am was saying that we need to have some system in place, lawless society and all. Surely we can have a good law. It's a bad law, and it, as we have shown, it is destroying school education. Yes, we need to encourage private schools because that's the only way we are going to provide the supply. Okay, there's thousands and lakhs and crores of students. 12 lakh students pass out every year, 12th class. This is the kind of supply demand is there. How will you provide the supply when the government schools are so bad? Now what is happening is, according due to this Right to Education Act, these private schools are being closed down. So you are reducing the quality supply, which you should encourage. Now, my personal opinion is what you can replace Right to Education Act with is that you provide a voucher system for poor kids. You can set a minimum income criteria, say 3 lakh, 4 lakh, whoever less income than 3 lakh. They can send their kids to any school they like, and the government will provide them vouchers according to the whatever the fees of the school is. Okay, that is another system that will focus on child. That will send the child to go to school, not force the school to get the child. You have to encourage a policy that focuses on learning and the kid, not on the school. Now the Right to Education Act is saying school has to do this, school has to do that. These kind of restrictions they are saying. You have to encourage the parents to send their kids to quality schools. That is not happening. That's the whole point. Thanks.
Hello. So, in your one of the slides where you mentioned Bangalore data, it was 160 for private sector and then 340. So how it is 28%? It is more than 100%.
Okay, I may have made a mistake. I will check.
Okay. And the second point, we did not focus on one thing. Why is it that up to 12th class, everybody is running for private sector school depending upon their income and all those things? But after 12th, why in India we always run after government institutions? So that does say that the way we have implemented in the past in our education sector for up to 12th and after 12th, there is a difference the way government, handle it.
Probably the higher education is far more expensive in the private sector. That could be one of the reason, because if I have to put my child in a medical school, private medical school, it will be far more expensive than going into a government medical college. Also, the quality of education at higher levels is much better in government institutes. Yes. It's only 24%. And less than 24%. You saw that data.
Yeah, I have seen.
Yes,
I remember.
You saw that data.
I'm just saying, for example, if you take top 25 colleges in engineering, I'm sure you will get only 2 or 3 private institutions which figure. So that tells us that government has failed to, sufficiently do in the education up to 12th class. So we may, appreciate leaders in the past who have, done things about IIT and IIM and all those things, but they have certainly failed about primary education.
This is
up to 12th
one
class.
issue.
That is my point.
So consider the scale. They have only how many IITs, how many IIMs? The government has only there are 20 IITs to run. Consider the schools they have to run. So it's a scale issue.
See, primary schools are 8 lakhs plus.
Yeah.
So I mean, reaching out to the
How many can
remotest
you fund
village.
properly?
You have one school in the radius of 1 kilometer.
The kind of subsidy per engineering student is over crore rupees.
Yeah.
In IIMs it's furthermore, so private cannot, balance that. Government can subsidize it. private person cannot subsidize this. So if you have to pay the fees completely, it will be almost equal to Howard and all. So I think
and even if you take out the whole defense budget and put into education, even that won't solve the problem, because consider the number of schools are there.
Talking about
No, I'm just saying for
I'm
the scale.
execution. I'm just saying execution.
Yeah, what you're saying is made a point that we failed in the primary education and
We have
probably
not focused
secondary,
enough.
senior secondary, but we've done better with the high
Or maybe we are focused in a wrong way.
Yes, that is my point.
Just want to say something.
No,
Yes,
I would say
Abhishek.
I would have some comments to make, but I
Yeah.
can discuss later.
Thanks.
So you are making some recommendations what we should do in future. So one of the point which I think we are missing is the basic problem in our education system, which I feel is there. It's about evaluating a fish for climbing a tree. So how we are trying to solve this problem with all the recommendations we are saying?
There are hundreds of these kinds of problems. As I said, you are complaining about the lighting on the second floor, and basement is on fire. You have divided all these things into sectarian and all that, minorities versus majority and all this. You have to fix the basics. When you don't do that, the upper structure will be worse. You have to fix the basic. नींव ही अगर अच्छी नहीं होगी तो फाउंडेशन अच्छी हो ही नहीं सकती.
See, the learning which is hampered to such an extent in the primary level itself, the problem is that we lose on the most sensitive period of learning. All of us, first 8 to 10 years, neurologically, scientifically, medically, is the most crucial period of learning. I would tell you a simple example. I went to Mumbai at the age of 17. 26 years there, I still have not learned to write Marathi. I can speak, I can understand, I can speak pretty bad Marathi. I can manage, though, a conversation, two-way conversation. I can understand probably 98-95% of Marathi, because when Marathi was introduced to me when I reached there at that age, while my children speak and understand better Marathi than me. We don't speak that language in the house, but they understand because it's the sensitive period. If you don't figure out what is going wrong with the education in the primary, I'm not even talking of secondary up to 8th, all intervention has to be done early. You cannot just wait that the child will grow up somehow, figure out how to learn. The gaps which are created are not funny. When I talk to a parent, I've seen the parents sit and cry down in front of me when they have the child in 10th standard and the learning level is of 2nd grade. 8 years gap, 8 years learning is lost. There's no way you can compensate. It's equal to killing somebody. Please understand, it's that bad. That is why I feel so strongly about it.
Are you trying to suggest that, when we cater to these learning levels or whatever need the students have, we cater to only a certain section of the society who can pay for that kind of learning, or we have to, cater to almost all of the society?
See, what was happening earlier, pre-RT, I would talk from my experience. We were having very specific referrals. See, I am catering to learning disabled children. So, in my certifying center, I get only who are having a learning problem. Right? So, the school would refer children. We have devised a checklist.
And what schools would that be, if I'm asked?
They are from all sections. From municipal schools, Marathi medium, Hindi medium, English medium, all of those vernacular medium schools also. We have tools in Hindi, English, Marathi and Gujarati medium. And Kannada, of course, the IQ is available in a lot more languages. So what happens when they came very focused. We actually, for 15 years, did a lot of intervention, a lot of awareness programs across Mumbai, across Maharashtra. I have done myself 30 programs in Lucknow also, since I also work there. Now, what happened is we started telling this is how you pick up a child with learning problems. So these are the categories the child could be in. And we brought down the referral to 3rd and 4th standard. And lo and behold, this act comes 2 years down the line, all referrals from the 3rd and 5th standard stopped and everybody started coming in 9th standard. So this is exactly what I've seen with my eyes. We didn't know what's happening.
So you're talking from a learning disability
I'm talking of learning problems. I'm not talking of disability.
Okay.
Then when we started diagnosing these children, they are not learning disabled children.
See, what my point is, I think the RTE is not, just catering to one kind of learning disability.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that now. I'm saying now, no.
See, what I'm saying is, if you're trying to, put that, learning disability or learning problems in perspective, are you catering to all the sections, sitting in Mumbai? Are you catering to, pan-Indian problems, learning problems, or is there somebody like you working for every child in the whole country? I mean, is there a point?
What I am trying to put across is that earlier when the children were referred, they were more with specific problems. Now when the children are referred to us, most of them are with learning gaps is what we see. We see learning difficulties. We see language barriers coming in first generation learners. We don't see learning disability. So now the number of children, if I see 1,000 children in a year, right? So earlier about 80% of the children were diagnosed as learning disability. Now what we see, we probably see 2,000 children now. But we are only picking up learning disability in a few. The rest of them passing to where they are learning gaps, huge learning gaps staring at us, and they are not learning disabled. So these children could have done better if this policy was not in place.
The question is that
normal children
only looking
normal
at
children.
that. Yeah. So is this extrapolating to normal children?
Yes, of course. These are children from regular all walks of school who have come to us. Now, in fact, it's the other way. Now, because we have too many certifying centers in Mumbai and across Maharashtra now, what is happening is they're saying you go and get a certificate, then we'll promote you, even in 9th. So, so these are the children who are not learning disabled. That's what I'm talking about. And when you say that the people across pan-India, how many people even talk about it? At this kind of a gathering, what I'm talking is probably may sound a little first time for quite a few people. So most of the times, the learning disability, that's what I mentioned again and again, that you have lovely, acts in place like your Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan rights, everything. Just follow that. What was the need to get an RTE in place? Right? I mean, if you had only implemented the earlier...
is not a law.
It's not a law.
RTE
That's why
is a law.
Exactly. That's the whole
why
problem. That's the whole problem. That's why it's causing so much of problem.
You've been quoting all those judgments and everything. That's all courtesy RTE, because that's a law.
So
you've been.
If we want to discuss anything pass or bad law, that's the only way we can talk about these things. That's not the way that I would recommend.
But then if you want everything to be in order before you pass a law, I think we are not being realistic. You cannot have everything in order before passing a law.
Don't have detention policy.
What's
You
not
have
realistic?
certain norms.
Passing a law and thinking things will change. That is
exactly.
not realistic.
And we will close with that probably.
And one thing.
Then we don't pass a law at all.
Tell me one thing.
You don't want things to change.
You talked about learning a bit, and because you have mentioned we are talking about what could be a solution, and Arihant here mentioned a few things that can be done. Firstly, repeal RTE and all. So what I understand as a layperson here is that RTE, the main stakeholder of RTE that everybody talks about, is about the children and the schools who are made to implement the right to education to each child. So they are the main stakeholders. But in education, where is the other stakeholder, which is the teachers who are imparting the learning? Where is that place? Because as the lady here, she gave the data that from 2 teachers running between 10 schools, now the government has come up with larger number of teachers and all. But that is it's a very slow progress. By the time we close that gap, what is happening?
My simple question is, if you had 10 schools, you should have had 10 teachers.
Exactly my point.
Why do you need a law to tell you that you need to have 10 teachers for 10 schools?
No, that's
as simple as that. Otherwise, don't have 10 schools. Have 2 schools.
Exactly the point that.
So the fault is earlier, and now you cannot say that the fault is getting corrected because of RTE.
Right? People don't stop without a signal, right?
Absolutely. The idea is